Hi everybody, this is Erik Halterman of RotoWire.com here with your weekly fantasy baseball waiver wire pickups. We're going to start on the mound this time with a pair of starting pitchers that I'm looking to add this week. We'll begin with Tigers lefty Tarik Skubal. I chase strikeouts wherever possible in fantasy baseball, so I love Skubal as a prospect thanks to his incredible 37.1% strikeout rate in the minors that led to a 2.11 ERA. So I was very disappointed when he came up last year, didn't strike many guys out, and that carried into the start of this season. Over his first 14 Major League Baseball games, he had a strikeout rate of just 23.1%, a decidedly average mark, and that led to an ERA of 5.83. He also had a shockingly low 24.8% ground ball rate, among the lowest pitchers during that time span. So there wasn't much to like about him for a while, except for in his last 5 starts, he suddenly figured out how to strike guys out again. He struck out 8 or more in 4 of those 5. He also has at least dragged his ground ball rate up to 35.4%, which is still low, but not among the lowest in the league. And again, given his strikeout prowess in the minors, I think there's reason to believe those gains should stick, which makes him a very interesting option who's likely to be available on many waiver wires given that he started the season so poorly. Next, we're going to move to Marlins righty Eliezer Hernandez. He's a guy I loved during draft season because in 6 short starts last year, he had a 3.16 ERA, which came with a 32.1% strikeout rate and 4.7% walk rate. Only 6 starters who threw at least 25 innings last year had a better strikeout rate minus walk rate. And so, of course, what does he do to start this year? He fails to complete the 3rd inning in his first start of the year and then misses 2 months with biceps inflammation. Given that his track record of success was so short, there's a decent chance he's been dropped in most leagues because nobody wants to hold on to a guy who's only been good for 6 starts throughout a 2-month-long injury. Short track record of success brings plenty of risk, but that upside couldn't be much higher for a guy who's likely to be available right now in early June, and he's got a great park. Next, we'll move on to a pair of hitters, starting with Cleveland shortstop Amed Rosario. Rosario came over in an offseason trade from the Mets, which sent Francisco Lindor the other way, but he wasn't the automatic shortstop for his new team because fellow shortstop Andres Gimenez was also included in the same deal. And in fact, at the start of the season, it was Gimenez who was atop the shortstop depth chart. Rosario still started there on occasion while also spending some time in center field. He was not good to start the year. In his first 32 games, Rosario had an OPS of just 594, but Gimenez was even worse and has since been sent down, opening up every day at bats for Rosario at short. And he's looked much better with a regular role at his most comfortable position. In his last 16 games, he has an OPS of 921. He also already has 5 steals this year after attempting just a single steal all of last season. Rosario is still just 25 years old and was a very highly rated prospect a few years ago, so even after a very disappointing 2020 season, I think there's reason to believe that a bounce back for him will actually be quite good. The upside here could look something like his 2019 season where he hit 287 with 15 homers and 19 steals. And finally, we'll go behind the plate to talk about Twins catcher Willians Astudillo. Astudillo might be more well-loved for his body type than his playing ability, but he's got some of that too. He's mostly been not a catcher this season. Only 4 of his 25 starts have come behind the plate, but he should have a lot more playing time there in the coming weeks with Mitch Garver out for at least a few weeks following groin surgery. Astudillo doesn't have a single walk in 104 plate appearances this year, which is pretty much what he does, so I would not recommend him for on-base percentage leagues. But he's also struck out at just a 7.7% clip, which counts as bad for a guy like him who has a career strikeout rate of 5%. So even though he's got a catcher's speed, if you basically never strike out, you're going to hit for a fair amount of contact, and he's done that this year, has a 277 batting average, which would play anywhere this season given how low league-wide batting average is, but it's especially exciting at catcher, where you're lucky to get much of anything. He also already has 4 homers, which isn't a ton, but ties his career high, and again is perfectly respectable for a backstop.